Hello everybody and welcome to This Week from City Hall. I'm Colleen Roberts, Public Information Officer for the City of New Bern. We have an exciting event to talk about coming to New Bern this weekend, August 28th. And I have Bob Ainsley and Sims Wayt here to tell us a little bit about it. How are you today?
Fine. Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. I feel like this has been a long time coming because you tried to put on this event last year, and I think because of COVID you had to cancel it.
We did.
But we're talking about the 247th anniversary of the New Bern Resolves. So tell us a little bit about your event and the history behind bringing this back to light in the colonial capital.
Sure. Well, this week will mark the 247th anniversary of the first North Carolina Provincial Congress. And actually, by some accounts, some people think it's the first American Provincial Congress that occurred. There's some debate among the Virginia delegation and the North Carolina delegation, but the fact of the matter is it was held here in New Bern, North Carolina. And the purpose behind that Congress was to address some of the grievances against the Royal Crown and the British Parliament, especially the Boston Harbor Act, which actually closed the harbor of Boston in retaliation for the Tea Act and the Boston Tea Party, which brought a lot of hardship upon the people. And so at that point in time, I think the colonists and the provinces had about all they could take, and they said, okay, it's time to redress those grievances. So New Bern was a location of the first NC as well as the second North Carolina Provincial Congress that occurred later. And they elected William Hooper, Joseph Hughes, and Richard Caswell to be delegates to the First Continental Congress. Out of that Congress came 28 resolves. Most of them were directed toward disrupting commerce with Great Britain so that they could maybe add a little leverage to the objection that they had about the laws and the taxes that had been levied upon them, and made a mandate that said, by this time, if you haven't, we'll continue to do this non-importation, non-exportation kind of agreement that they had mandated there at the Congress.
But it also, am I right, paved the way for creating the state of North Carolina? Well,
that came later. There were five North Carolina provincial congresses. The first was, got us going in regards to the grievances against the Crown. And the second, not much happened at the second Congress, aside from maybe perhaps censoring one delegate who didn't want to go the way of the Patriots. That was another story in itself. But the third and the fourth and the fifth, of course, the third was in direct retaliation and response to the shot that was heard around the world at the Battle of Lexington and Concord. And then they organized for war. And that the third was held at Hillsborough, North Carolina.
Yes.
And then the fourth, which resulted in the Halifax Resolves, and then the fifth actually stood up the government of North Carolina, made it a state. Constitution and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were established at the fifth NC Congress. That was also held in Halifax.
Have you ever been a school teacher? I feel like you're a walking historian.
Yeah, I've had about all my life. I'm an educator. So, yeah.
Well, you're very good at it.
Oh, thank you.
So you have an event coming up this weekend to commemorate what happened at the Craven County Courthouse in 1774. Tell us about what you're planning for the weekend.
Okay. You want to take a little bit shot of that, or keep going? Okay. All right.
Keep going.
Well, yes. We'll be conducting, as you said before, we did try to do this last year, but because of the protocols associated with COVID, we had to cancel it. And we're hoping that this year is not the issue there. We will be doing a hybrid approach. So we'll be projecting the observance through the Zoom technology. So for those folks that can't make it, we'll be allowing them to participate virtually. We will conduct an observance, and kind of symbolic, we'll have a procession that starts at the Centenary United Methodist parking lot right next to the federal courthouse, and which will consist of a variety of our chapters, to include the Daughters of the American Revolution will be present as well. And members will be dressed out in their colonial guard outfits, and it'll be very pageantry, it'd be a lot of royalty and pageantry associated with that. We also have the Tryon Palace Fife and Drum Corps. They will be, members of that organization will be attending as well. And like I said, a variety of other chapters throughout the state will be participating, and our members as well. We'll go through, helped out by the police department. We'll have a rolling barricade, and we'll go through the intersection of Broad Street and Middle Street. And the importance behind that is that's where the actual courthouse was located. Right at the intersection of Broad and Middle was where the actual Craven County Courthouse was located, and where they met in 1774. So there's a little bit of history there associated, and that's why we wanted to kind of come through that. We will then exit Middle Street when we get to the corner of Middle and Pollock, where we'll go into the Colonial Chapel site there at Christ Church, and that's where we'll actually conduct the ceremony, the observance ceremony there. We've got some great stuff lined up. We have, joining us in that procession will be about 100 Boy Scouts and Cubs and Scout Masters will be joining us as well.
Wow.
And they'll have a significant role with the American flags. And I think it's going to be a really nice event for that. Part of the observance that we do, we render honors, and we present wreaths. Various chapters will bring wreaths and present honors during the ceremony. We'll also have a keynote address by Dr. Joseph Beatty. He's the research supervisor from the North Carolina Archives Department in Raleigh, and he'll be down to keynote and give us about a 15-minute piece on what happened there at the first North Carolina Congress.
For folks who want to come.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's open to the public. We would invite you to attend, and you'll learn a lot, I think, in that regard. And sure, I mean, so we'll be outside, and if they want to wear a mask, they can. They don't have to. So at this point in time, we haven't got any stick and rudder on that any other way. So.
I feel like this time of year, unfortunately, with summer storms, we always have to ask about your contingency plan if there is bad weather.
Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed on that, because we really think the site at the Christ Church is just perfect. And you get a great Eastern North Carolina day, and those trees overhanging, and the backdrop of the church. It's just a beautiful sight. It really is, and it's very historic in nature, so I think that will work out very well. However, plan B will be that if it really is bad weather, we'll have to cancel the procession and the outside ceremony, and more than likely the lunch will also have to. Well, the lunch will be okay, but the inside we'll move it to the Harrison Center where the lunch will be.
Okay.
So we'll conduct everything that was supposed to be, as much as we can, will be conducted in the Harrison Center right there on Middle Street. Now, there's a limit in terms of how many people can fit into the Harrison Center, so it's going to be when you first come, first serve kind of a thing.
And for folks watching this interview who are hearing about the event for the first time, you're on Facebook, right? If they need more info?
Yes, we are. It's pasted out there underneath the new Bern Chapter of the SAR.
Also, on the August 28th calendar on visitnewbern.com, there is a great explanation also of what's going on this weekend. Before we wrap up, Bob, you are the president of the New Bern chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. Sims, you are with the Richard Dobbs Spaight chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And I thought in talking about this event, it might also be valuable to touch on, if you know you're a descendant of the sons or daughters of the American Revolution, what do you have to do, or what do you present in order to become a member?
Oh, okay. I'll take a stab at that first.
Go ahead.
Yep. Well, the Sons of the American Revolution, we got our charter from Congress in 1907.
Okay.
And some of our more notable members was Teddy Roosevelt is a member of the SAR, and he actually signed the charter when he was president. And we are the oldest male lineage society in America, and you can be a member regardless of your race. Of course, you have to be a male, okay? Ethnicity, it doesn't matter. As long as you can provide some proof, documented proof of a lineage back to somebody who supported the American Revolution. Now,
okay.
Support, it has a variety of things associated with it. You could have fought in the militia, you could have fought in a Continental Line unit,
okay.
You could have served on courts. Anything, you could donate money, you could have donated clothing, food, but you have to prove that. My Patriot ancestor was a delegate to the 3rd and 5th NC Provincial Congresses, Peter Wynn, and he represented Terrell County, North Carolina. And my 6th great uncle actually participated here. Joseph Sproul participated in the 1st North Carolina. So you just have to document the lineage, and it's, sometimes it's hard to find the documentation, but if you noodle around long enough, you can find it. And if you're interested, if people are interested in pursuing that, we'll work with them as best we possibly can.
Okay.
So sometimes you have to really dig to get the documentation out.
Right.
You really do. Other times it just comes very natural. Like, some of our members' moms were members of the DAR, and all we had to do was just pull it across. And
okay.
that's an easy. All you need is a birth certificate that shows proof that you're related to the mom. So.
And similar process for the
yes.
DAR?
Yes, and then we go back, and one of the places to look, once you start looking at 9th generation, you're starting to look at what people were doing at the time. And I want to emphasize that, donating a pig to the army was the colonial army would get you.
Wow.
But you got to prove it.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you look at colonial record books, which there are a lot out there, you can usually find names that way.
Oh, easy. And one of our members, I'll give him a plug, Victor Jones is the
okay.
Kellenberger librarian, and there's a ton of stuff over there. It's one of the best genealogical library that I've ever been associated with. I mean, it's not like the Library of Virginia, in Richmond, or the one up in Raleigh with the archives, but it's really good. And if you can't find it, Victor's very good at finding it for you. So I was able to prove about 10 more people in supplementals, that were direct, support of the AR on my lines, different branches.
So just as a reminder, this Saturday, August 28th, what time does the procession start downtown?
It starts at 10.
Okay. So if you're wondering what's going on downtown, it is the anniversary of the New Bern Resolves, and hopefully we'll have great weather for a procession through Middle and Broad down here to Pollock Street, and an event at the Christ Church Colonial Outdoor Chapel.
Yes.
Correct? Anything else you want to add?
No, once again, thanks a lot for having us.
Thank you very much.
We really do appreciate it.
Looking forward to a wonderful event.
A lot of history in New Bern.
Yes,
A lot of history.
yes, and great teachers,
No,
right? Of
don't
history.
know about that.
Thank you both for joining us for This Week from City Hall.